From the beginning of a discussion on consciousness, it is vital that we establish a mutually understood vocabulary, a model. Without it, we are likely to misunderstand each other. Do you accept the possibility of modeling consciousness? If you reject the possibility of a model, then it seems to me discussion is futile. Of what use is a model? What use is a map? A map provides direction, guidance to an unfamiliar destination. The map is not equivalent to a destination. The map is not equivalent to the trip itself. This fact is acknowledged from the start. Despite this fact, the map is useful. A map or model of consciousness implies there is a development taking place, a journey. Hence the use of a map or model to reflect that journey. A model of consciousness implies conscious development. If we were already fully conscious, if we already resided at our destination, a map would be useless. For my own part, in my life, I experience an unfolding process, a development of consciousness. My experience of consciousness, of who I am, is not a static state, but a growing sense of being. Consciousness is an unfolding process. Where there is growth, where there is development, there is by implication what remains to be developed. In a word, potential. It is my intention, with writing and in conversation, to prove whether or not that unfolding potential can be successfully modeled. In my writing, I have endeavored to establish a vocabulary and a model of conscious development. The model incorporates not only what I have experienced, and what I continuously experience, but also what remains to be experienced, what remains to be developed. It includes what is implied by the sum of what I already know, similar to the way that the missing pieces of a jigsaw puzzle can be recognized from a study of the arrangement of the pieces already in place. I am also guided by what I call insight, inspiration, arising from consciousness itself as it grows. The verbal and written model is intellectual in construction, but far more than intellectual in application. We can apply the model with our being, the sum of who we are, that includes not only thought, but feeling and awareness and attention. In fact, that includes our very consciousness itself as it unfolds. A perfect model can only be realized with the full development of consciousness. As long as consciousness remains underdeveloped, the model that springs from it will likewise remain underdeveloped and incomplete. We're dealing with consciousness, after all, in which the terrain is the very traveler of it. Growing consciousness implies broadening comprehension. A lack of consciousness implies not only missing pieces to a puzzle, it implies the absence of a subject. With that caveat, we begin with basic principles. If we try to begin with complex or advanced principles, we will stumble. Beginning with advanced principles, we are apt to make assumptions that are unfounded and that lead us in the wrong direction or in circles. For example, if we begin our discussion on the topic of full consciousness without first establishing what the building blocks of full consciousness are, we make assumptions that prove fatal to a clear comprehension of the subject. If we start to talk about identification without first establishing the nature of the thought process from which identification springs, or without first understanding the constituent components of the thought process, we overreach ourselves. We gloss over aspects of ourselves that remain unexplored and unknown, uncharted territory where dragons lie.